thing? I thought you've been telling your truth, which is often a pack of lies, from the moment you abandoned this country. Well, today's new trailer doubles down on the last trailer, and there's more tears. Remember that clip of Meghan once showing us how she could cry like that at the drop of a little tarnished tiara? Remember that? She could do it like that. Just bear that in mind when you watch it. Did you get that one? And as for the shameful comparisons with Princess Diana, I remember Prince Harry being very, very angry about the media exploiting his mother for commercial gain. Yeah, what has he done with this Netflix series? He's used his mother to sell it. Could there be a more grotesque exploitation or a more hypocritical one than him using his dead mother's imagery to engender sympathy for himself again as the great victim in this world? I find it all puke-making. And I speak as someone who's actually in one of these things. I pop up. Yeah, me. And to my astonishment, I was being very nice about Meghan Markle. Let's have a listen. Oh, God, you wouldn't know the truth if it hit you around the back of your head. This gruesome twosome only survived by cashing in on what's left of their royal status now. I said it before, I'll say it again tonight. King Charles should strip them of all their remaining titles and cast them out from any connection to the royal family. How could any of them trust them, as far as I could throw them? Because without it, they're just whining millennial windbags with a permanent victim complex, knowing that victimhood is what makes them all the money. The irony is earth-shattering, isn't it? Harry and Meghan are the Duke and Duchess of gaslighting themselves. The entire show is a cynical attempt to manipulate viewers into questioning their own recollections of reality. And if we learned anything at all from the first 3 hours of this $100 million wine-a-thon, it's surely that this dismal duo wouldn't know the truth if it smacked them around their smug chops. Let's look at their truth versus the actual truth. Meghan moans that royal advisors forced her to uninvite her dear niece, Ashley, from the wedding, the only member of her family that she seemed to be still talking to.
How do we explain that this half-sister isn't invited to the wedding, but that the half-sister's daughter is? And so, with Ashley, the guidance at the time was to not have her come to our wedding.
Yeah, that was a lie. Impeccably placed royal sources told the Sunday Times no such guidance was ever given. And that was supposed to be the show's big example of how Meghan really cares very deeply about her family. So deeply that only one member of that family was at the wedding, her mother. Not even her favourite little niece, Ashley. Meghan also sees she got no advice on royal protocol, forcing her to learn how to be a princess all on her own.
Joining this family, I knew that there was a protocol for how things were done. There's no class and some person who goes sit like this, cross your legs like this, use this fork, don't do this, curtsy then, wear this kind of hat. Doesn't happen.
Another lie. And by the way, Meghan, if you don't like me calling you a liar, just sue me and we'll go through all this in court. The Sunday Times discovered she was actually handed a 30-point dossier, studiously researched, brimming with information and contacts. Meghan later simpers that she never wore bright colours to show respect, because she's all about respect.
So I was like, well, what's a colour that they'll probably never wear? Camel, beige, white. So I wore a lot of muted tones, but it also was so I could just blend in. Like, I'm not trying to stand out here.
No, the last thing Meghan Markle would ever want to do is stand out. But it's all another lie. Photos taken by the evil, bigoted British press show her wearing pretty much every colour in the rainbow. The show opens with the claim that the royal family declined to comment on the series. That's another lie. The palace says it received one email from an unknown company and attempts to verify it were flatly ignored. Even the story of their romance and engagement turns out to have been a series of whoppers. They told the BBC in 2017 they were set up by a mutual friend on a blind date. They told Netflix they met on Instagram. And what about Harry's modest proposal in their humble cottage kitchen?
It happened a few weeks ago, earlier this month, here at our cottage. Just a standard, typical night for us.
It's a cozy night. What were we doing? Just roasting chicken
trying to roast chicken.
Trying to roast a chicken. And it was just an amazing surprise. It was so sweet.
An amazing surprise. It was so sweet. Well, according to Netflix, which is their show, it was actually a candlelit extravaganza in their walled garden. And Meghan was so amazingly surprised, she managed to figure out what was happening and tell her friend about it before Harry even popped the question. A small little detail, but rather like their claim, or Meghan's claim, that they'd been secretly married by the Archbishop of Canterbury in their garden before, 3 days before, the big televised wedding, which also turned out not just to be untrue, but had it been true, would have led to the Archbishop of Canterbury being incarcerated in prison. As with all things Meghan and Harry, it would seem, the truth just doesn't really exist in their world. It's their truth, their version of it. We'll go read
see my point of view as well?
Yeah.
Look at the front pages there, which is when their engagement was announced.
Yeah.
Where's the racism?
Do you remember that was before she actually said that the institution was racist? And that's my point. How institutionalized racism works is
Right.
the minute
But
you
do-
dare
but
say
you
that
accept-
the institution is
Sorry,
racist,
but just-
everyone
Iman,
piles
stop
on.
shouting.
That's what happens.
But you accept there's no racism in those media pages.
Because that was before she said that the institution was racist.
Actually, what
after that moment,
actually,
that's when everyone decided to pile on.
Actually,
and vilify
what happened
her
is
as a woman.
people began to pile on when she started having $500,000 baby showers in New York and flying back on the Clooney private plane.
Which
They started
several
having a pile on.
points.
Started
Those are
having a
separate
pile on
points.
when they used Elton John's private plane like a taxi rank whilst preaching about carbon footprint. They had another pile on when they had other huge extravagant events they went to, and then when they're preaching about poverty on their Twitter account. Time and again, they were caught being rankly hypocritical. That was why the media coverage began to turn. Then there was all the stuff with her father. Many people felt that she was unnecessarily cruel to her father. People have since criticised his own behaviour. I accept that. But certainly to start with, they ditched him. They dropped him. Harry's never met his father-in-law in his life. You know, he proposed marriage to this girl knowing what's going to happen and then doesn't do anything to protect the father at all. And so now she's disowned him. What kind of people put compassion on their website, as they do, as being at the centre of their core being, when they live 70 miles away from this guy who has not got long for this world, he's in poor health, all he wants to do is meet his grandchildren, and she won't have anything to do with him? That's not compassionate. And also the hypocrisy and the lies are not what I think are decent values in people. And I think Meghan Markle branding us a racist country and attacking the institution of the monarchy as racist.
It's unfair.
I think
It's
actually,
unfair.
I think
Totally unfair.
She is what I would call a race baiter. If she doesn't produce hard evidence to support these incendiary claims, she becomes a race baiter, exploiting racism and the issue of racism to act as a kind of protective shield around her and to make herself extremely rich and famous as a professional victim. I've spent more time in Sussex than Meghan and Harry have in the last 2 weeks. Right? So, actually, a month. But they're never there, but they've got these titles which are given to them. That's really what I mean about they trade off Duke and Duchess of Sussex, the royals, to make themselves incredibly rich. And I do wonder if there's a point where Charles goes, actually, you can't do that anymore. It'd be unprecedented, but why wouldn't he?
Yeah, but I think it's kind of irrelevant. I mean, no one really cares about the titles. If you strip them of the titles, they're still Harry and Meghan. They'd still be equally famous. And they'd still
But they wouldn't be acting as members of the royal family.
Yeah.
I don't think they go around acting as members of the royal
Oh,
family.
they do. All the
come on,
paperwork,
they
all the
totally
letter
do.
headings, it's all from the office of the Duchess of Sussex. Almost nonsense. She calls herself a princess on her podcast. Little girls have got to make a real princess. You're not a princess. She's not a princess anyway. But they do it quite deliberately to fuel the interest from commercial entities. And really the interest is based on them trashing their family. I mean, without that, I'm not sure what we're interested in. We don't want to hear their woke homilies about life, do we? So I'm not sure how this all plays out, but it's a mess. And Charles may have to deal with it, I think. Well, good evening from London. Welcome to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Today, Harry and Meghan torch what little was left of their relationship with the royal family and what little was left, frankly, of their own reputations. Last week was mostly sycophantic. This latest instalment was downright seditious. Prince Harry mauls his own brother. He accuses his father, the new king, of being a liar. Even has a dig at his late great-grandmother, the Queen, for standing by and doing nothing. The royal family is directly accused of destroying two of its own to protect itself. And I don't know where it all stops, all this. Where does it end? We've got the book, and then we've got the interview circuit, and so it goes on. It's all apparently a dark plot by Britain and the royals to smear the poor, defenceless, vulnerable Sussexes. Trickery, treachery, hypocrisy. And if there's one conclusion to draw from the final instalment of their Netflix series, it's that Prince Harry surely is now a traitor to the country that he once served.